This is the 86th episode of the Effective Executive Podcast and YouTube channel. And I was doing some research this week for my other channel, Brains and Bowls. And I got to thinking about some of the things that I've learned over the years, not only in investing, but also from working with executives and large organizations. And what I was looking at was something called the efficient market hypothesis. It's something used if you go online on Twitter or any social media, you'll find people that are advocates of this, whether they know it or not. But the efficient market hypothesis really is the theory associated with things like technical analysis and when you get your quarterly earnings, if somebody's out there estimating what your revenues are going to be and what your earnings are going to be, earnings per share are going to be for your organization. And one of the things that's completely ignored is the psychology that's involved. Now, as I started to research, because I like to challenge things, that's kind of my nature, and the efficient market hypothesis really is the theory that runs investing, and you've got whole programs out there on people teaching technical analysis. Now, I'm not saying it's completely worthless, but as I got into it, I started to discover that data that is promoted from technical analysis and charting and things of that sort don't always tell you the full story because psychology is ignored. And the problem you have in organizations is the bias you carry towards certain theories. So, in other words, and I've talked about this before, but sometimes they're kind of unconscious types of biases that you have, and some of them are pretty well known in the organization, and every organization and person has them. They're following theories, and I call them theories at work in organizations. And I call them theories at work because that's what they are. No theory is ever proven, and some might work well for you, but the question becomes what other theories might be out there. And if we have the mindset of there's always a better way, then we're going to be looking for other theories or what's wrong with my current thinking. So, in other words, you look to prove your thinking is your mindset. This is a bias everyone has. They want to defend their actions and their thinking and things of that sort, rather than look to disprove them. And especially as an executive, looking forward, you have to be out there looking to disprove the theories that are at work in your organization. Now, I'm finding this even tougher today with executives that are late in their career, and they're mostly boomers, and I'm one, so there you go. And they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to change the status quo, but I think they're compromising the future of the company. And this gets back to what we ought to be focused on is the longevity of the company. That's something that outlasts us and that is handed down to the next organization or next generation. So the good news is most executives don't challenge their theories. And so they're left in this perpetual status quo. So this provides an opportunity for you in your industry. So what can you do? How do you accomplish challenging your theories? Well, first of all, you're going to have to identify the theories at work in your organization. Now, I've got a whole program associated that, but what you're thinking about what the customer wants, and where do you how do you incentivize your employees, and all of your thinking around control and a number of things. And I think you need to sit down and kind of take inventory what the theories are at work. And again, they could be things that were already there when you got there, or things that you've implemented. Why did you take a decision a certain direction. Why did you make that decision? What was it based in? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, what evidence through a priori logic, in other words, reasoning, maybe was the reason that you went it. Oh well, it's something that's so logical. Why would I challenge that? Observation from some things that you've seen, and, or the data supports your theory. Now, once you've identified where these things, it could be a combination of things. Maybe you have data that supports it, maybe you have observation, maybe you think it's just logical, and so therefore you're doing it. But the third step is where I think you can really begin to look at things differently. And this is where you need to use critical thinking. So, what is wrong with your logic? Is there observable evidence? And sometimes when you listen or see things, you don't always see the whole story. I mean, you could go to a courtroom and you find that out pretty quickly. You know, uh, people witnesses and testify and things of that sort. Then the third thing is, what are the data you are looking at, not measuring? So let me give you an example, and I've used this example before. But if you're in a contact center, you've got a whole bunch of data out there. One of the things that you'll find in a lot of data centers, contact centers, is the category of miscellaneous and other, and that can be 40 to 70%. I've seen as high as 70% of the data that's being collected falls into that category because an agent gets a call and they're not sure where category it fits. They weren't really involved in putting it together. There are no good ways for them to discern one category that they're placing the call under. So they just put it into miscellaneous and other. Doesn't tell you a whole lot. So how do you overcome these types of things, and how contact center agents are looking or listening to these phone calls is to listen to the phone calls. Your own observation, does it support the data that you're getting off of a particular report? So this is just a real quick thing. It was something I came across and it got me really thinking that, one of the things that we're constantly challenging executives and organizations to do is to challenge their thinking, and not just accept the status quo. But there needs to be a method associated with that, I believe. I give you 3 simple steps, in essence, for you to go through. I say simple; they're not so easy once you start into it. But I've seen a lot of organizations be very successful in looking at their things and say, well, I started to observe in that doesn't, the data isn't supporting what I'm seeing out there, and why is that? And so data can cover up a lot of things that you won't see, and people take it at face value. Oh, they've got data, therefore that must be good. Let's go that direction. So anyway, that's what I wanted to cover this week. That data can fail us, our thinking can fail us, our bias can fail us, but just remember, there's always a better way. I'll catch you next week.